terrifying, it's the Cool Kids Club. You should be running, yeah, well, Justin's a monster, and Amy eats worms in the Cool Kids Club. Cool Kids Club.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Cool Kids Club podcast. I am one of your hosts, Justin.
And I'm your other host, Amy. And Justin, this is episode 15?
15.
How have we made it this far without
Is there anything special you can do when you turn 15?
Dramatic break.
We get our learner's permit now.
We get our learner's permit.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, shit. The end of the month, we get our license. We better study for that test. That's only 2 weeks. It's not a lot of time.
Remember when I had my learner's permit and I backed the mom and dad's minivan into the Lynn Ham's porch and busted the taillight out in it?
I didn't know that was when you had your learner's permit, but I do remember that, yes.
Yeah, I thought I had really fucked up my chances of them letting me get my license after that.
Yeah, you were overestimating how much they cared about that minivan, I think. Or at least
and how much they wanted me out of the house.
Yeah, they were like, no, please God, get your license and get out of here.
But we are not talking about driver's licenses and breaking the taillights of minivans.
Very important to...
Equally scary.
If not scarier. Let's just say it. And equally important to the core of who you are as a person. And that is Goosebumps.
Yeah. I'm so excited to cover this. I mean, we knew the second we started this podcast, I think they're like, man, if we get to October, obviously we're doing Goosebumps. We're gonna hold off.
If we make it to October without like a vicious on-air argument, are we gonna do like the fake argument things like Blue Bard Cage has like storylines? Are we gonna have? Am I gonna turn heel?
I don't appreciate the use of the word fake. It is much like wrestling, predetermined.
It is,
yes, we would do...
Funtertainment, or what did he call it?
Funtertainment, sports entertainment.
Sports entertainment, yeah.
Funtertainment.
Listen.
You made it so much more awkward.
I know. Can I put two words together, or what?
But before we get into Goosebumps, and yes, Goosebumps, this is a big one for me. I have a couple of things from our last episode, Universal Monsters in the 90s, that I wanted to address. Okay. The first thing was...
Do you have some corrections you need to make?
I do.
Oh.
I have a correction I need to make.
Okay.
And I have to say that you are correct, because I was confused. When I said that Five Will Goes West and An American Tail... They are. Five Will Goes West is the sequel, but I was getting it confused with The Great Mouse Detective, so I was wrong and you were correct. So I just wanted to get that out there, and I did have someone call me out on that on Instagram. Very friendly about it, but yeah.
Oh my God, I was right, y'all. It happens once in a millennia. Well, It happens a lot, but people just don't admit it to me.
People don't recognize it.
People don't recognize my rightness. Wow.
Okay, so wanted to get that out of the way. I knew we were
talking about the same goddamn mouse, but okay. Oh. Yeah, any other corrections you need to make?
Well, so this is not a correction, but it was a... My lovely wife, April, listened to the show on her way home from work, and came home, and one of the first things she said, I listened to your new podcast. Oh, did you like it? Yeah, and then she got quiet for a second. She's like, why'd you shit all over Creature from the Black Lagoon? That's my favorite one. I was like, what? No, I didn't think so. Let me just state for the record. No, I think it had to do with the monster hierarchy, the monstarchy.
Oh.
Of like who's the most important monster, and why was Wolfman $5?
He came much later.
Well, that was sort of my justification, is there aren't as many movies. He's like the last one that's kind of generally considered the traditional.
Right.
But I put him mid-tier because honestly, like, especially the original Creature from the Black Lagoon movie is one of my favorites. Like, that movie
now,
is
I could
fantastic.
understand if she was a Mummy fan, because we did shit all over the Mummy.
Well, that's what I thought she was going to say when she paused. I was going to like, yeah, we really fucking gave it to the Mummy, didn't we? But she didn't care about that. She was like, I've never seen the Mummy, but I love the Creature, and don't talk shit about the Creature. So just for the record,
okay,
love Creature, one of my faves. You know, and it's probably only mid-tier in the Monstarchy just because he came so late and there's not as many movies.
Don't think I didn't notice that. Monstarchy. I love it.
I can't wait until we get custom pogs made with all your made up and combined words that we use on the show.
Much like browning out. I like it, and I'm probably going to use it a lot right now.
So, what I can remember from my brown state is no, that's about it. That's all I wanted to say. I wanted to correct myself as I was getting it confused with The Great Mouse Detective, which came out around the same time, maybe the same year. I don't remember. But
mice were hot back then. This was a hot. Yeah,
mice were a hot commodity for some reason.
Not just Mickey either. You know.
Oh no.
Well, let's go ahead then. Then we've got that out of the way. Let's go ahead and jump right in to.
Oh, man, I'm excited about this one.
Isn't there like a creepy lake?
Let's jelly jam.
Oh,
let's do it.
God.
Come on. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and board the bus to Camp Blood.
Camp Blood.
Isn't that one?
No, there's Camp Jelly Jam. That's why I said it. There's Camp Nightmare. We could do Camp Nightmare.
What's the blood one?
Monster Blood?
Oh, right. Do you remember that time with Casey Anderson and we went through all the Goosebumps and Babysitters Club names and added In Your Pants to all of them, and Monster Blood in Your Pants was clearly the best Goosebumps one?
Yeah.
Shout out Casey Anderson.
Is probably all this podcast should be. Is just us doing that.
Yeah. Also, I want to note the best Babysitters Club one was Marianne and Too Many Boys in Your Pants.
Right. Thank you.
Try to come at me with a better one. Okay,
thank you for giving the world that.
Yeah. Well, you can thank Casey Anderson.
Right.
Okay.
Let's jelly jam. Let's get on the bus to Camp Nightmare or whatever you want to do.
Okay.
Yeah. It feels forced.
Yeah. We're going to cut all that out.
Goosebumps is huge for me. I would say if I had like the pillars of things I was obsessed with as a kid, right? Mm-hmm. You got the Ninja Turtles, you've got wrestling, and you've got Goosebumps for sure.
Titanic.
The Titanic.
Can't wait.
I can't wait till we do
nostalgia podcast about a 1912 shipwreck.
If you want us to do an episode on the Titanic, not the movie, the actual ship that sunk, let us know on Instagram or Twitter.
I mean, we can focus.
I'll do it. I'll do the shit out of that episode
on the discovery, which happened in like the late 80s.
No, it's going to be about the 1912 ship.
Okay then.
No.
But yeah, somewhere in that hierarchy was certainly Goosebumps.
Oh God, it was one of the big ones for me. It was really, I think, the first time that it, I could trace my love of horror back to our dad, obviously, but this was kind of like the first thing that was like, I was discovering it and it was new. It wasn't like something being shown to me like an old movie or something. It was like, this is new. I've never read anything like this. And I mean, me and just about everybody else our age was obsessed. We had Goosebumps fever in the 90s.
Oh my God. That's a real diagnosable illness, I think, actually.
Mm-hmm. You catch it in Fever Swamp.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's, I think, what I was thinking of. I was thinking there's like a lake or it's Fever Swamp is what I was thinking of.
Oh, good. So I'm glad we cleared that up.
I was thinking let's dive on in to Fever Swamp is really what I wanted to say.
Okay. All right. Well, on that note, I say let's do it. Let's dive into Fever Swamp.
Let's go.
But I think before we do that, I think you should talk a little bit about R.L. Stein sort of before Goosebumps because
I was just saying, R.L. Stein.
Yes, because Goosebumps is not the first thing he did.
No, it's
it
not.
was by far the most successful.
Yeah.
But he was working for a long time before this.
Yeah, so successful. R.L. Stein is obviously the creator of Goosebumps. And long before Goosebumps started, he was known as Jovial Bob Stein, because his name is Robert Stein. And he wrote like
old Joe Bob. Old Joe Bob Stein.
Real quick, I just want to interject. On Wheel of Fortune at the end, when they do the very last puzzle and they give you the letters, and it's like RLST, and then do you not always think of R.L. Stein?
Yes, I do. I was wondering where the hell you were going with that, but yeah, well, I can see that.
Listen, I'll bring it around. And I would like our listeners to also confirm that they all also think of R.L. Stein. So when R.L. Stein was Jovial Bob Stein, he wrote like kids' humor books. He actually created and ran this humor magazine called Bananas that ran from 75 to 84. And I wasn't really aware of this, and I guess it totally makes sense that Fear Street started before Goosebumps because a lot of those were in the 80s. But I guess in my mind I just thought, oh, he started with Goosebumps and that was so successful, and then he like followed his audience into teenagerdom.
No, that's not
how it was. So his first horror novel, it was not part of Fear Street, but it was called Blind Date, and it actually came out in 1986.
I want to do an episode that's just about all the like 1 and 2 off R.L. Stein horror books from the 80s. Halloween Night and Blind Date. And,
yeah. Yeah.
There's some fun stuff in there.
In addition to writing kids books, he also was and I didn't know this till way later in life, the co-creator and head writer of one of mine and Justin's favorite childhood shows, Eureka's Castle.
Oh, I love Eureka's Castle. And I didn't know that until I was well into adulthood, that he created and wrote that show. I loved that as a kid. Yeah,
me too. I remember specifically watching the we've talked on here numerous times about our Halloween and Christmas tapes, and the Eureka's Castle Christmas special was on our Christmas tape and holds a very special place in my heart. But we love Eureka's Castle. We've talked about it on here before. It was a Nick Jr. show that ran from 1989 to 1995, and old Jovial Bob Stein created it. So that's awesome. The same year he created Eureka's Castle, he also began writing the Fear Street series.
Yes.
The first one being The New Girl. Obviously, Fear Street is geared more towards teenagers. They are definitely more violent and scary than Goosebumps, which comes later. And they spawned lots and lots of spin-off series. And these were actually published by Parachute Press, which was ran in part by old Jovial Bob's wife.
And that's actually going to come into play. Parachute Press, working with Scholastic, is going to come into play later, as we see like legal disputes kind of disrupt things. Yeah.
So this is kind of how R.L. Stein got his start. I mean, in like in the 70s. Always been writing for kids. Even obviously when he created for television, he was creating a kids show. So seems like he's always had a passion for like kids entertainment, or funtertainment, if you will.
Yes. Spooktertainment.
Putting the fun in funtertainment. Yeah, spooktertainment. Yeah, there you go.
So his books were like really successful. Like, the Fear Street books were pretty popular, and it was actually one of the other ladies who ran Parachute Press with his wife who convinced him, you should write scary stories for younger kids, because that's where the money's at, I imagine, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So finally he was persuaded and signed a 6-book deal with Scholastic. So Scholastic and Parachute Press are sort of in partnership. Mm-hmm. And in July of 1992, we get the release of the first 3 Goosebumps books, which are, Amy,
Welcome to Dead House, which the cover of which is burned in my memory.
So many of these covers are burned into my memory.
Stay Out of the Basement.
Yes.
And Monster Blood in Your Pants.
Yeah. So those are the big 3.
Camp Monster Blood.
Camp Monster Blood. Listen. Welcome to Dead House. So I'll interject here and say we haven't done it in a long time, but I actually have talked about Goosebumps on a podcast before. If you're really wanting some deep dives into some of these books, I did a show. It's on a podcast feed that's still up on wherever you get your podcast, called Where Are We Going? That was called Goose Bros, that I did with Brian Wakefield, composer of our theme song.
Yeah, that's Hey Guys.
Brian,
and
some of our friends. You were a guest on an episode.
I was. My husband was a guest on an episode.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So we actually covered all three of these. Welcome to Dead House was the first one, and that was the first one I bought. That cover with like the kind of pinkish purple slime, that border that they all had.
Oh my God.
And the painting of that house with like the door opening and the light on inside. It's just, to me, like I remember
the front steps of the house or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember very specifically being in the store and seeing that, and Dad buying it for me.
Of course.
Yeah.
Because he was probably just as excited that there was something new for you to...
Right. I remember, obviously having no idea what Goosebumps was, but I saw that cover and was like, what is that? Mm-hmm. And from that point on, I was hooked,
man. You were hooked, yeah.
Now, some of these early ones, as far as like my personal collection, some of them some of the really early ones, I didn't get at the time. I read them maybe like from the library.
Yeah, we were big library folk.
Yeah, so, Stay Out of the Basement, which is kind of a... like a science fiction horror story, basically about a dad doing experiments in the basement and people merging with plants, and it's pretty cool.
Like a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but with
plant people. Yes,
plant people. Sure.
Honey, I merged the kids with plants.
Oh, Lord, I done shrunk them kids. I'm so sorry. Lord.
Oh, honey, Lord, them kids are so tiny.
Oh no, Lord, I turned him into a ficus. That's what Stay Out of the Basement is about.
That is what Stay Out of the Basement is about. Yeah,
that's the only voice I can do. So yeah, those were released, I think you said, in July of 1992, in 1992. Yeah. Now of course, I've talked on here before about how I was a huge scaredy cat growing up. So I have a different relationship to Goosebumps. Justin.
Tell me about your relationship to Goosebumps.
Yeah.
I want to hear about it. Tell me about it.
Yeah. So Justin was obviously, like, he has loved horror from the get-go. Like he said, our dad was a big fan and kind of, saw that in him. And I think he probably tried with me, and I probably just screamed and ran out of the room. And so I knew that Justin had these. I'd seen them many times, seen him reading them. And I honestly, I can't remember, Justin, if I tried to read one at any point in time. I have a feeling they wouldn't have scared me too much, because it was more like visual.
Have you never read one?
No, I have.
Okay. I know you've read at least one, because you're on the other show.
Yeah, I read Piano Lessons Can Be Murder. Something tells me I read Welcome to Dead House when we were kids, but it's been so long I can't remember. Mm-hmm. So I just have more of a relationship. Now, I do remember watching the show when it came on, and obviously I've seen the movie and stuff, and we'll talk about that later. But when they were hot and you were starting to get into them, I was also pretty young at this point. So I feel like maybe approaching mid 90s, I may have borrowed one or two and read them.
Right.
But yeah, so the first three books established quite a few tropes, right, that were going to be kind of staples in Goosebumps books.
Yeah, there are just some things that are common amongst pretty much all of them, at least of this original run.
Yeah.
It's always like a middle-class family. It was actually originally supposed to be geared toward girls, interestingly enough.
That's fun.
Yeah, so you get a nice mix. There's male and female protagonists. Usually there is a sibling, sometimes an older sibling, and you get that dynamic. Sometimes the annoying younger sibling. So you
I
get
don't
that
think
sort
younger
of thing.
Siblings are particularly annoying. I don't know where that comes
They're
from.
annoying as shit.
I know. I never once was annoying.
Nope.
Never once.
Well,
I'm known for how unannoying I am, actually.
I know. You're doing it right now.
Yeah.
So you'd always have kind of this platonic family. There's usually like 2 kids. There's always a dog. There's always a pet. Usually it's a dog.
Never gets hurt, though, because these are kids' books, right?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, there's maybe hints that it got hurt, but you know,
no.
They're not going to kill it. They're not going to kill dog.
Oh, can't handle that.
They're always, they're never in their comfort zone, if that makes sense. They're always like they've just moved into a new house, or they're going and staying with some weird relative for the summer, or I'm stuck at this summer camp, or it's always something like that. Like, it's never, I'm in the comforts of my own home. I'm in this kind of foreign place.
Yeah.
And I'm not comfortable here.
Because that just sets the unease from the very start. Like,
right, and it isolates them. It makes the character. It makes it feel like the characters are isolated.
Yes.
Another big thing that I found in every single Goosebumps book I've read is that their experiences always get discounted by the adults.
No, the parents never believe them.
The adults are often absent. Or like maybe not maliciously, but kind of just blissfully clueless as to what's going on.
Or they're just like, I'm too busy unpacking boxes.
Right.
Go play with the dog. And they're like,
never helpful.
Mom,
they don't believe kids.
Yeah.
You know, they don't believe the kids. And I think that's a big thing too. And I think that's a lot of, because I think kids feel that way, because I think sometimes adults treat kids that way. That, you know, they're not, you're not taking what they say seriously.
Right.
Or they're not really listening. So I think a lot of kids could identify with. So, you know, it's stuff that real kids can identify with, even though this is like scary supernatural stories.
And I think
stuff.
that's
kids
also like a real fear for kids. Like an actual real life fear is that like your parents who are supposed to take care of you like aren't believing you, and you're saying, that you're in danger.
Moving, like leaving all my friends in my school and moving. That's scary.
Going to camp for a lot of people.
The idea of
scary.
Losing a pet. Like that. Even though they don't do anything like that in these books, it's certainly a thing. I think even in Welcome to Dead House, there's the dog disappears, and it turns out being fine, but they,
but they play on that. Yeah,
that fear of what happened to my pet.
Yeah.
Which is a real thing that that is relatable, and then you throw in. Werewolves,
like an actual
ghosts and
not of this world spooky thing,
worms and whatnot.
Worms, spideys, all kinds of hamsters.
And there's rarely any death in these books. Very, very rarely, if at all.
If it is, it's a ghost that died in like the 1700s, and he's done dead before the book even starts.
Done dead.
Lord, he already done dead. I gotta quit doing that voice. It's my one. It's the only one I have. So we talked a little bit about the covers a minute ago.
Gosh.
Which are so good. Like, I have to say,
that's my big regret about this, is that like it's just an audio medium, and that I can't just hold up every cover and be like, look at this one.
But look at this one.
But look at this one. Look how fucking cool this one is.
Yeah. So Tim, is this Jacobus?
Jacobus, I imagine.
Jacobus, okay, like Jacoby. So he was actually the artist that created the cover art for all of the original Goosebumps except for number 2 and number 12. Don't know why. He was busy. He was on vacation.
I'm not sure about number 12, which is Be Careful What You Wish For. I'm not sure why he didn't do that one.
Okay.
But I can tell you, Stay Out of the Basement, which is also an iconic cover. Goosebumps number 2 with the green hand, the close-up of the green hand coming out of the door, coming around the door. Basically what they did, because those books came out at the same time, is they hired 2 different artists and were like, each of you design one, and we're going to pick which one we like better to stick with going forward.
Okay.
And so they liked Tim Jacobus' art better, so they brought him on.
Okay. So, well, yeah, that makes sense. Well, maybe he was just like on vacay for number 12. He's gotta take time off too.
Yeah. Tim needs a break.
His drawing hand's sore. But yeah, like these covers, they're so colorful. The original Goosebumps font is just so fucking perfect.
And they have the bumps on them.
Yes, they're textured.
On the cover.
The covers are textured. It's just everything you could want. Like, and I have to say, I enjoy the new Goosebumps style as well. For like how they've restyled them for kids now, and we've got Slappy. He's on everything. Like, I do like that. I don't think anything will beat the original, but I do think it's a really well done redesign. In my opinion, I think it still keeps the colors. I mean, it's they've changed directions a little bit, but I like it. I mean, it's no original, but I like it. I think it's good. They've gone with like a more Goosebumps is green, right? Always.
Right.
Like the title.
But the thing is, what I loved so much about the books is what I loved about those covers, in addition to the artwork, was everyone had a different color scheme.
They were different, exactly.
They always had two different colors, and they all look different, and they look so cool, and they look awesome on a shelf.
And they're very
I've got my collection right behind me.
90s colors.
Very bright.
Very bright.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've talked a little bit about some of these, but obviously some of the notable early ones, you have Monster Blood, which was the third one. And just, you said this is about like green slime that grows. So it's a okay.
Yeah. So basically this kid goes and stays with a relative and ends up in this weird old dusty creepy toy store.
Sure.
And finds this can of stuff on a back shelf and buys it. It ends up kind of it's like a alien sort of thing, and it grows and consumes and
okay. We also have Night of the Living Dubby, which is the seventh one, and that introduces Slappy, who is this ventriloquist dummy who's terrifying, and he then later becomes, like I said a minute ago, the Goosebumps mascot, and he is in several books and movies and all that. He's a big deal.
Just in this original run. So the original run, we should say, of Goosebumps is 62 books. And it went from 1992 to 1997. Yeah. So in that run, there's 3 Night of the Living Dummy books. I was going to say, I
thought there were 3.
And then there are some others in the spin-off series. Slappy is kind of, he's the mascot anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
And a big part, he's the main villain in the movies.
Yeah.
And actually the series that's going on right now is like Slappy World or something. Yeah, it's in the nets here.
Oh, see, I don't know a lot about the spinoff, so that'll be, as we get to that, you'll have to school me.
Sure. Well, I am first and foremost an educator.
That's what we do here, right?
Yes.
That's what we do. We're teaching the masses. Moving on to the Haunted Mask. Speaking of teaching the masses, let's talk more about these Goosebumps books.
Now, this I believe is April's favorite.
This is April's favorite.
The Haunted Mask. What an iconic! Talk about iconic covers.
This is a great cover.
Yep.
Great.
Just
cover.
like kind of that green devil-looking mask with the little girl holding it up in front of her face.
And kind of a blue tint to the picture.
Yep. Just so like simple.
Yeah.
Just, they're not throwing a bunch of stuff at you, just simple and iconic, honestly.
Yeah.
And a good story. This is one I was reading about that, like, R.L. Stine gets his ideas, I think, from everywhere. From,
sure.
He thinks of them, he thinks of something that's happened to him or something he read or whatever. The Haunted Mask, the idea for the Haunted Mask came when his son got a Halloween mask stuck on his head.
Really?
And couldn't, and they had to like cut it off and he couldn't squeeze out of it. So,
what if?
Like, what if the mask won't come off?
What if it's cursed or haunted?
Haunted.
Haunted. We also have One Day at Horrorland. That's the one with like the roller coaster on the cover, right?
Well, it's an amusement park.
Oh, okay, right, an amusement park.
Yeah, so it's got the the big Horrorland sign, and it introduces the horrors, which are just kind of like this, like a race of monsters, sort of.
Okay.
And they appear in a lot of stuff too, and there was a spin-off series based around Horrorland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Horrorland is a big one. Oh, there's so many. I'm looking at the list right now.
What if that existed? What if they did a Goosebumps theme park and they called it Horrorland?
I would just live there.
Yeah?
I would just go there and live.
Yeah. Okay.
I would probably technically be homeless, but...
Would you you think you would just hide
I would hide in, like, Dead House.
Uh-huh.
You know?
You'd be, like, hiding...
And I'd act like a ghost.
Oh, that's a good... Okay.
You know? So maybe I'd, like, live up in the attic, and anytime someone started, like, messing around, I'd be like, ooh, and I'd, like, you know, bang really loud or whatever and scare them away.
Yeah. Okay.
This is a solid plan for this park that does not exist.
This is great. We could get on this. Well, I mean, you know, they're making a whole Universal Monsters theme park, so dreams do come true.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
God, there's so many here that I'm just like, we can't talk about all of them.
I know, we can't.
And I'm just
talk
looking
about
at this
all of them.
original, the original 62. I mean, Say Cheese and Die. The picture of the skeletons
who's barbecuing,
having the barbecue.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like how you get a lot of kind of these like classic monster tropes. We have like a mummy, you know, the Curse of the Mummy's Tomb early on. Let's Get Invisible. We have kind of like an invisible kid type of thing. Yeah, Camp Nightmare, Girl Who Cried Monster. I remember probably about like the Ghost Next Door, number 10, The Haunted Mask. That's when I was like, this like into like 93.
Yeah.
At this point, and they start releasing them one a month.
Yes.
By like mid 93, and that's when I just started. It was like a monthly thing. Like Mom takes me to the store and I buy the Goosebumps book.
Yeah.
Like, and I read it in like a day.
Sure. Oh yeah. You always had a Goosebumps book on you and a Ninja Turtle toy. I feel like anywhere we went.
You know,
the essentials. I mean, you still do, and your work bag right now. Ninja Turtle, Goosebumps book.
No comment.
You never... Yeah. Plead the fifth.
Yeah. But yeah, these are, like, by 93, you know, it's really kind of blowing up.
Oh, yeah.
Really, really popular. We get the Werewolf of Fever Swamp. That was such a cool one. We did that on the other show.
Yeah.
Horrorland, and then we start to get like sequels, right? So we get more Monster Blood. We get Monster Blood 2, and later on Monster Blood 3. We get, you know, Night of the Living Dummy sequels. Eventually, we get Say Cheese and Die sequel.
Yep, I remember those.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's 62 original ones. What would you say? What do you think of? I'll ask you just about the covers, honestly, because I know that you haven't, and I mean most of these I haven't read in years and years.
Yeah.
But what would you say are like, you know, give me like a rough like top 5 as far as covers that you can recall like really standing out.
I feel like I'm looking through the list now. I feel like we've talked about all the ones that I can remember. Obviously, like Welcome to Dead House, Piano Lessons Can Be Murder, which was the one that I read for the Goose Bros episode. Now's a good time to just talk about how I have a fear that was instilled in me by the movie The Ghost of Mr. Chicken, of pianos / organs playing with no one at them. Fuck a player piano. They creep me out. I don't like the keys going down and no one is at it. So Piano Lessons Can Be Murder. I remember specifically the television adaptation of this book scared the shit out of me. And the cover for this is a disembodied hand. At least there's hands.
I was gonna say
there are hands.
There are hands.
There's just nothing attached to them, which
ain't no body.
I'll be honest,
just them hands.
Is better than nothing.
Okay.
I'd rather have severed hands. Definitely Say Cheese and Die. Definitely. Let's see a lot. Oh, the Scarecrow one. I remember that. Scarecrow walks at midnight.
That's that one looks like fall. That cover looks like fall because it's like gold and like kind of maroon. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, it's a good one.
I'm trying to look through. Oh, the Abominable Snowman of Pasadena. I do remember that one.
That's the book. That's the book that made Casey Anderson give up on Goosebumps. That one came out, and I'm sure he will. In
December of '95.
Yeah.
And he
it was kind of like, just, you know what? I think I'm done.
Casey
I think it's jumped the shark.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't disagree. So a lot of these later ones, I'm looking at these and I'm like, I don't even... Chicken? What's that even about? Like, I can guess what it's about, but... Oh, shit, the blob that ate everyone. I remember that one.
That one is good. Attack of the Jack-o'-lanterns is really good, too, with, like, the pumpkin head
I'm sure.
people. Yeah. Ghost camp. There's another camp.
So many camps.
A lot of camps,
It wouldn't be an episode if I wasn't Googling something at the moment,
right.
Which is why I sound distracted. Yes, the blob that ate everyone. I remember this cover. It's gross. It's a big old blob with a big old tongue.
Now, I'll tell you what one of my favorites was the Cuckoo Clock of Doom.
Oh, yeah.
Not just the cover, but the story. I loved the Cuckoo Clock of Doom. Kind of these, like, mid-20s, like, up into the 20s here. Attack of the Mutant is another one of my favorites. Yeah. And kind of notorious for being, like, one of the only ones that doesn't have a happy ending, like, where the protagonist doesn't win. Sort of.
Is which one?
Attack of the Mutant.
Oh.
But Cuckoo Clock of Doom also kind of has a downer ending, where, because it involves, like, sort of like time travel.
Oh, and, I probably like that.
And so it ends with him, like, acts like him, like, setting it straight, but in doing so, erases his sister from existence.
And you were like, wait a minute, how did he do that?
That's possible?
Holy shit.
I just need a clock?
No one told me.
I have a clock. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're still here.
Nice fucking try.
But I'm glad I didn't, because then we wouldn't be doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Talking about Cuckoo Clock of Doom.
You'd have to ask your other sister. Oh, wait. I'm the only one. So you said you said there was going to be some disputes.
Yeah.
Between Parachute and Scholastic.
So really, you know, the peak of Goosebumps, it starts in 92. And is popular from the beginning. Really, really starts to pick up steam in, 93, as they start releasing them once a month.
Yeah.
Through about, 95, 96, I would say. They're really, really popular. And then, honestly, kind of the demographic. I mean, these are written for, sort of like a 3rd grade to 7th grade reading level. So we all just kind of started aging out of them.
Yeah.
I think. It
Casey
was kind
Anderson a little earlier than other people.
Well, yeah, that's because of his superior intellect.
Well, that is true.
Yeah. But...
Casey's getting a lot of shout-outs this episode.
Well, as he should.
Yeah.
As he should.
Agreed.
Yeah, so the popularity, by like 96, it's started, they've kind of, the quality isn't as good in a lot of them. It's just kind of waning in popularity. And honestly, the like, as the readership sort of ages out, you're getting what I'm sure we will do an episode on eventually. I certainly hope so. Animorphs is sort of becoming the new hot thing. So it's like everyone who kind of is getting too old for Goosebumps. Should I go back and read all the
Animorphs books?
I can't believe you haven't. There's a lot of them, I think.
There are a shit ton.
Yeah.
Now
there's a lot of animals they had to get through.
There's so many. My shocked. There's so many animals. Yeah, no shit.
There's so many animals, you guys.
You guys, I don't know if you
Amy's
knew this.
just learning this.
I don't know if you knew, Justin.
And they had to do an animorph for every animal. I think that's how it,
even the extinct ones.
Even dinosaurs.
Even dodo birds.
Yeah.
No, we'll do a whole episode on Animorphs, and I did read those.
Yeah, I did too, and I was kind of...
Because those weren't scary, they were like sci-fi.
Right. So I'm, getting into junior high at this point, and like everyone else, kind of aging out of it.
You're getting into more of the hard stuff.
The hard stuff, like
Stephen
Animorphs. No, honestly, yes. I mean,
yeah,
I did kind of graduate, by junior high into reading Stephen King, whether that was too early or not. It happened.
Listen, I know a lot of people that start reading Stephen King started in middle school, which is probably too young. But if you were enjoying Goosebumps and other like horror books,
right.
I mean, I guess you could have gone back and read like Fear Street and things like that. But it was kind of like
I kind of graduated to to that, to
hard
a more
stuff,
adult,
yeah.
the hard stuff. So it's already kind of waning in popularity.
Yeah.
Despite there being all this merch and there's the TV show and all this, it's kind of on the decline. And then you start to have these legal disputes, which we're not going to get into like details and shit because it goes back and forth with this side accusing this side of blah blah blah. Basically, what happened was it was a legal dispute between Parachute Press, which was owned and operated in part by R.L. Stine's wife.
Yeah.
And Scholastic, and essentially what it all boiled down to was marketing rights.
Sure.
And as we will see, there is a absolute just shitload of Goosebumps merch.
It's honestly baffling. It's so much.
So the two sides, they start fighting over these marketing rights, and in doing so, end up just kind of fucking the whole thing up.
Yeah, just tanking
because they tanked it. So there's stuff in the works that just gets stalled and canceled. Yep. There's talk of a movie in the late 90s that doesn't ever go anywhere. Well, we eventually get a movie.
Yeah, but like 20 years later.
Yeah. So that doesn't go anywhere, and it basically leads to a falling out between R.L. Stine and Scholastic, and leads to So the legal disputes sort of go on for a while. The original Goosebumps run of 62 books that we've been talking about up to this point ends in December 1997 with number 62, Monster Blood 4 is the last...
Man, when you've only got 62 books and you're already on the 4th sequel of Monster Blood, that it's time to...
Yeah.
Call it quits.
And this one's weird, too, because it's not actual Monster Blood, or the Monster Blood's... It's like these little blue slug aliens. It's not the green slime. I don't know. It's weird.
Monster Slug doesn't have the same ring to it.
I disagree.
What?
But okay.
To each their own.
So while these legal disputes are going on, essentially they end the original run with the idea of updating the series. We're going to refresh and we're going to market it as better and scarier, even though it's really not.
No.
It's pretty much the same level of scary.
Right.
And this leads to... okay. So there's several spin-off series, I should say.
So many.
So there's so many.
So many more than I knew.
Right. So I'll kind of
just let's do a
little sidebar.
Yeah.
Let's do a little sidebar.
Okay.
So we've got the legal stuff going on in the late 90s. That's kind of, the series is stalling out. There's these legal battles going on. Popularity's kind of waning. They're looking to refresh stuff. But let's put a pin in that for a moment, and let's talk about some of the spin-off series, because that's going to play into sort of what happens next.
Yeah.
The first, outside of the original line, the original run, are called Tales to Give You Goosebumps.
I remember those.
Which, the first of those was released in 1994. There were 6 total. And these were collections of short stories.
Yeah.
So they would have about 4 or 5 different stories in them, and a lot of times they had a theme. So there was one that was kind of like summertime stories, and it had, and now we think of Slappy as the mascot, and because he's been the mascot for Goosebumps for so long. But I don't know if you recall the other Goosebumps mascot, Curly the skeleton.
I do remember him.
And they would have Curly, he'd be in like a kiddie pool with like a floaty on.
He always had
something.
like sunglasses on, and
and he had like a mohawk.
Yeah, he was very like Weekend at Bernie's.
Well, he was a skeleton.
He was a dead guy.
Not a dead.
Very chill.
But he didn't have no meat on him.
Well, he had no meat, but he was very chill. He just wanted to have. A motorcycle just went down the road so loud. I don't know if y'all heard that.
I know. I heard that.
Yeah, he's a very chill guy. Very chill vibes. Just hanging out in a pool, but dead, just like Bernie.
But dead.
Yeah, that's how I hope to be when I'm dead.
They did one that was all stories about Halloween. And they did one that was all Christmas stories.
Do you have these?
I have all but the last one. I have the first 5. I don't have the 6th one, as it came out in 97, and that was when the original run ended, so I don't know that it was made for too long. It's a little harder to find.
You said you have the Christmas and Halloween ones?
I think the Christmas one might be the last one.
No!
Without looking it up, but I do have the Halloween one.
Okay.
I know I have that one.
You should read it this month for funsies.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll do it right now. Give me a minute.
Yeah.
So, okay. Then we get probably what I would say is the most popular, at least in the 90s,
of the
spin-off series, which starts in 95, which, this is kind of the peak, right, of, 94, 95, Goosebumps Mania.
Yeah.
Is sort of at its peak. And in 95, the Fever Swamp.
The Fever Swamp. Mm-hmm.
Is at its peak. And we get the debut of Give Yourself Goosebumps, which is a choose-your-own-adventure type series.
With holographic covers.
Oh, my goodness.
You looked at... Okay, Justin, you looked at those original covers, and you were like, these are fucking awesome. Yeah. Well, you probably didn't say that. You were like 7. You were like, this is good.
I definitely said that.
And you were like, I don't know how they could make them any better. And
why is my voice so high? Because
you're 7.
Well, I'm not a chipmunk.
You're a little boy. I sure do like these Goosebumps covers. You looked at those covers. What I'm trying to say is you looked at those covers and you thought, how could they get any better? And then they made holographic ones.
Yes, and they were all, like, everyone was a different holographic pattern.
Yes.
And color. Some were, like, glittery, some were, like, more solid, and, they're so cool. And, of course, who doesn't love a choose-your-own-adventure book?
I love those, yeah.
Right? It's a Goosebumps book in the style of Choose Your Own Adventure. Mm-hmm. So there were 42 of these total.
That's a lot.
They ran until 2000, which was after the original run ended in 97. So they kept these going for quite a while.
Wow.
Yeah, these personally, I have probably the first 15 or 16 of these.
Yeah, I imagine they are much harder to find.
The later ones are, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We also get this is weird, I thought. So we're going to talk about the TV show here in just a minute, but we get not the novels, that the TV show. So we have, let's say Welcome to Dead House. Mm-hmm. It's a book first. Then they make a television show adaptation of it. Then they do a novelization of the TV show episode that's different from the book Welcome to Dead House that the show was based on.
So what they've done is they've hairsprayed it. You see, you have the movie Hairspray, and then Broadway took that movie and they made it a musical. And then they made a movie of the musical. They've hairsprayed it.
Okay, well, that's what they've done.
That's that phenomenon that I just made up.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I imagine just to sell more books. There were
sure.
only 18 of these, and they were, in
covers,
conjunction with the TV show.
Yeah.
You also had these Goosebumps triple headers, which only 2 of them got released before the big falling out. So they were like anthologies that contained 3 stories. Mm-hmm. Apparently he was working on a 3rd one when they kind of severed their relationship, so that never got released. So there's only 2 of those. Mm-hmm. So that brings us sort of back to this legal dispute.
Yeah.
Kind of starts in 97. In 97, they end the original run, like I said.
Yeah.
And in 98, they rebrand, basically as everything did in the 90s. They just added 2000 to it. So we get Goosebumps Series 2000 in 1998.
Yes.
So basically, Monster Blood 4, the last of the original run, came out in December 97. The first Goosebumps Series 2000 is January 98. So, there's
right
no break.
Into it, yeah.
No break.
But it is, quote-unquote, different somehow.
Right, yeah. Basically, different cover styles, supposedly scarier, but they're not.
Tried and tested, did not scare me. That's what Justin says.
So, these last until 2000. Originally, there were planned to be 40 books in this series.
In the 2000 series?
In the 2000 series. But only 25 were published because in 2000, due to the legal disputes, R.L. Stine's contract wasn't renewed, and so they basically had a falling out, and he said bye, and that was the end of Goosebumps. Like, for quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, we essentially, that brings everything to a close in the 90s. Mm-hmm. He's not with Scholastic anymore. The series is over. They're still fighting about the rights to it.
So before we get into the Goosebumps era that we're currently in, I would say.
The revival.
The revival. The Goose Nonnaissance?
Goose Nonnaissance. I like it.
Well, I am a professional.
Boy, it's just never going to get old, is it?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
No. But before we go on, it's probably a good time to talk about the television show. We've mentioned.
I mean, we're almost an hour into this show. We better talk about the TV show that everyone knows and loves.
So the TV show, I think, for a lot of people our age, was iconic. It definitely wasn't short-lived like the Babysitter's Club show, which had like 10 episodes. This actually had 4 seasons, 74 total episodes. This originally aired on Fox Kids starting in 1995, specifically October 27th. Good time to start it.
Yeah.
And it ran until 1998. So obviously you've got episodes based on the original run of the books, which at this point is about 3 years deep. Okay. It has maybe the best theme song of any show ever. This show was very successful, and again, it started at the time that Goosebumps was at the height, I think, of its popularity, and it ran it straight into the ground, just like the original series. So 43 of the original 62 books were adapted, and then they also did, just some original stories. They did 9 stories from Tales to Give You Goosebumps. Yes. 2 from the Goosebumps 2000, because this ran till 98, and that started in 98. You had this original 3-parter, which was the trilogy.
Of course.
Do you remember what that entailed?
It's Amy level wordplay. I don't.
Yeah, really.
But it was an original story. It wasn't based on any book.
They also had more Monster Blood. I could not get enough of that fucking Monster Blood. Goody.
Oh, just ate up with the monster blood. He's got a
hankering for monster blood. He's got a fever, and the only prescription is more monster blood, which was an original story based on, of course, the existing characters from all the Monster Blood books.
Yes, the Monster Blood verse.
Exactly.
Why does anyone listen to this show? Baffling.
I genuinely don't know. And our friends, our real life friends, somehow don't get enough of us bantering in real life, and they listen to this show. So this has been in reruns. I do think this has, since 2013. I was going to say, this has been on Netflix, right? Is still on Netflix?
It is on Netflix
oh my
right
God,
now.
We're going to have to watch some of those.
Yep.
It's been rerun on Cartoon Network, the Hub Network. Catch it on Netflix, at least in the U.S. it's on Netflix. There's been several releases, home video releases, DVD releases over the years. And big news. In April, Big news. In April 2020, in the midst of what would be the most depressing time in any of our lives, it was announced that Scholastic and Sony Pictures are developing a new TV show.
Oh my god.
Goosebumps.
Me meow.
And in March,
are you serious?
And in March of this year, R.L. Stine said that actually a producer and a director have been found. So it's happening. It's happening. It is on its way. So yeah, that was the show, and you'll have to let us know, listeners, dear listeners, if you remember the show. If so, did you watch it? What were your favorite episodes? Were they faithful adaptations, Justin? See, I feel like I remember a lot of the show more than the books.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
From what I recall.
Okay.
The show is not particularly well made.
It's not. It's for sure not.
But it's great, regardless.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so that brings us to, oh gosh, there's all this other stuff. Amy, you gotta tell us about this collectors club?
Justin, there's
Fan
so
club?
many things. So, in the...
Do it quickly.
We are running the clock out. In the 90s, Goosebumps is hot. We've talked about this. The show is on. So
It's hot.
It is hot. So kind of, not in conjunction with the show, but I think they were definitely like, they were coming at you from all angles. They got the books on lock. They got the show.
Yeah.
They got the fucking merchandise. And let me tell you, when Justin asked me if I could take over some parts of the research, including toys, merchandise, I said, sure. Thinking, there's going to be a couple standout things. Justin, there was not a single thing in the year of our Lord 1995 that you couldn't also get in a Goosebumps version.
Really?
I mean, they had curtains. They had curtains, Justin. Not just bedding, which I can understand. Valances. They had valances to go with your bedding. They had
valances.
Door hangers. Jack Valances. I mean, any school supply you could imagine had a Goosebumps version. I mean, honestly, it was too much. Wallets, keychains, t-shirts, sneakers. They had sneakers, Justin. Obviously, hats, lights.
I'm just baffled why I didn't have Goosebumps sneakers.
Well, good question. Light switch covers. The commitment to a Goosebumps theme room. They wanted to make sure you had everything. Clocks, calendars, of course. I mean, rings, like for your fingies.
Like a curly skull ring?
Maybe. I don't know. And so, in part of this, they have all this merchandise, right? Well, starting in 1994, they start the Goosebumps Fan Club. And subscribers actually get merchandise in the mail, and they also get newsletters. Mm-hmm. The newsletter was called The Scream. Good one. And then, of course, when they switched over to this new cool era in 1998, you had the Goosebumps Fan Club 2000, which again, they just add 2000 and it's somehow new. And that, of course, started in 1998.
It's the future.
Yeah, the future is now. The future is 21 years ago. Goosebumps Collectors Club was also something they did, and this was actually really cool because it allowed readers to like gradually collect all the books in the series. So it was like a monthly subscription, and you also got a newsletter with that, and that was called the Scare Zine.
Okay.
And you got like the newest book, I guess, for the month. So that's pretty cool.
Okay.
Also, toys. So many toys. You've got video games, which I'll talk about in a minute. You've got board games, but then you just have toys. You've got action figures. You've got freak faces, which were these like... Now, I want to say there was mainly like 4 different, we'll say mascots, for lack of a better word. You have Curly the Skeleton. You have the hamster.
The Monster Blood hamster.
The Monster Blood hamster. You have Slappy. And then you have the Mud Monster. So those are like your 4 main ones. And like everything came in all 4 varieties. So many. You had freak faces, and these were like these hand puppets. They kind of almost remind me of the Eureka's Castle hand puppets that we talk about from Pizza Hut.
You keep talking. I'm gonna Google these. I gotta see.
Okay. Dread heads were
freak
little
faces. I might regret this Google search.
Yeah. Remember like Gak and how it came in like a little plastic container. It was kind of flat on the back, and then it had like you unscrewed the back. So that's what these dread heads looked like, and they were full of ooze and just other gross shit.
Okay, yeah, I've seen these. Yeah. These are cool.
Scary squirts. God, I hate that name. Which were like
that one. I'm not gonna Google.
I
do not want to see what pops up.
Please, listeners, do not Google these things unless you put Goosebumps with it. These were water toys.
Even then.
Yeah, even then. Now these they really unlocked a memory. Do you remember the Inksters that came with disappearing ink?
Yes, yeah, I do.
I hadn't thought of those in 30 years. They were also doubled as water toys because when you ran out of the ink, you could just squirt water at people. There was play sets. They had this worm house where you made actual worms and spiders. Like real ones. Definitely not just made out of like goo. Definitely not.
But okay.
Real living, breathing worms. There was a scream machine. What do you think that is?
It's a machine that screams, I assume.
Yeah, they had a regular and a portable handheld version.
Oh, good.
Just anything
for the screamer on the go.
Think of every toy that a mother, not just our mother, that a mother would fucking hate, like ooey gooey goozy things, and then a fucking loud scream machine, and your kid would just come up behind you with a portable scream machine to be like, ah! Like right where you're like doing dishes or something. That's what Goosebumps was going for.
I mean, children are already kind of portable scream machines.
I know, and then you gave them an extra one.
From my experience.
I know. It's really baffling. I mean, the amount of merchandise. Board games, which...
we haven't even gotten into...
just one board game, Justin. I thought it was just Terror in the Graveyard.
You fool!
I was a fool! I was a fool. The one that I remember, of course, is Terror in the Graveyard, which you had, right?
I do have. I have it again.
Yeah, but you had it as a kid, right?
I had it as a kid and got rid of it at some point over the years.
Yeah.
It got gone.
Got gone.
And I found it at a toy show a couple years ago.
Yes.
And bought it.
And that came out in 1995. There were also several like handheld games. Of course, like those Tiger. I don't know if it was Tiger that did them, but those types of handheld games, pinball machines, card games, puzzles. There are 7 different video/PC/mobile games that have come out.
Yeah.
The first one was a PC game, of course, released in 1996 called Escape from Horrorland.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the meantime, you had like other like PC games. You had Goosebumps the Game, which was released in 2015 for PC, PlayStation, Xbox, all of them. And it was actually a prequel to the first film.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's been the last... Oh, they may have done one more after that.
There is a mobile game.
Yes, there is a mobile game.
I played the mobile game. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I have played it too. It is fun.
Well, and thankfully, we're getting all of these things still... because there was a, what did you call it?
It's a Goose-Renaissance.
Goose-Renaissance. Yes. Goose-Renaissance, which happens in 2008. So by the early mid-2000s, basically everyone had kissed and made up at Scholastic and Parachute Press. And Scholastic bought the rights to the franchise, and that led to the first set of reprints. So like in 2003... we start to get reprints of the original series with different covers.
Yeah.
Not as good.
No,
I'm sorry.
Never going to be as good.
Not as good. And eventually, 2008, we get the official return of Goosebumps after basically a decade almost of nothing. We get the return of the Goosebumps franchise with a new series in 2008, Goosebumps Horrorland. It is the first Goosebumps books to tell sort of overarching stories.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, like sort of... so they have like... the series is actually 2 arcs. So
okay.
You have these like kind of individual stories that are then tied into all of these people winding up in Horrorland. And then you have the last couple books are like all of the characters from the books come together and they're in Horrorland, and you concludes the story.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So it's kind of like a shared universe sort of thing. There's actual like continuity between the books.
That's cool.
And yeah, so those there's only 19 of those. But there's 2 story arcs in there. And then we also get the Goosebumps Hall of Horrors in 2011, which is a 6-book mini-series, which is also kind of related to Horrorland.
Okay.
But just sort of like these self-contained stories.
Yeah, okay.
Basically. Then we get, there's another series called Goosebumps Most Wanted.
God, so many.
Yeah, that starts in 2012. This ends up being 10 books. There are several special editions. Originally started out as like a standalone book.
Yeah.
And then we have a current series going
Still
on.
going,
Still going, that started in 2017 called Slappy World.
God.
And Slappy is sort of the, like, almost like a crypt keeper.
He is.
Sort
He's
of like he
the host. Almost.
He's the host. He like kind of introduces and periodically like pops in to make comments.
Now, are these like novels
jokes.
or are these graphic novels?
They're like, I mean, they're like more traditional Goosebumps books.
Okay.
They're like novellas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they've done 15 of these so far, and we've confirmed that we have confirmation.
We have confirmation.
That there's going to be at least 20, if not more.
Okay.
So we've got, in fact, I think one just came out like a couple weeks ago.
Now, do you have any interest in reading or collecting any stuff made after the year 2000?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I would say so. Right now for me, it's just a matter of space.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
I don't have anywhere to put that stuff. Like, they would just end up in a box
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah.
So I haven't really bothered. But I did go back and complete the original 62 books. I had about probably 2/3 of those. Most of the later ones I didn't have.
Yeah.
And a couple early ones I didn't have.
Yeah.
But several years ago, I did kind of go back and start rebuying those over a long period of time. And so I do have the original 62 now, plus 5 of the 6 Tales to Give You Goosebumps.
Fear not, he does have them.
Yeah. I also have the Pogs, along with the books that came with the Pogs.
God.
There was there were 2 sets of Goosebumps Pogs, which I still have. There was an initial one, and then there was a Christmas themed one.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my
And they came with books and a slammer. I have a Curly wearing a Santa hat holographic Pog slammer.
You want to be buried with that?
I want you to put those over my eyes. Where, like so I could ferry me across the river Styx. Just
ferry you across Fever Swamp.
Ferry me across Fever Swamp.
It's gonna be a short ferry.
So hell knows a slammer's coming.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, before we close out this episode, let's kind of talk real briefly about, we're kind of up to date on Goosebumps as far as the current series, but we did finally get some movies, which I feel like are, they're part of this new
Goose Renaissance.
The Goose Renaissance. And so, kids now are consuming Goosebumps books and these movies. And so in 2015, we got the first Goosebumps movie, and I love this movie.
I'm gonna be honest. There's, I think some people didn't like these. I thought both of them were great.
I still have not seen the second one, and it is specific.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's specifically Halloween themed, so I'm making a point to watch it this month.
Watch it with me.
Okay.
Please.
Okay.
It's so Halloween.
Yeah.
Like, probably other than Trick or Treat, and I know it's not The Godfather. These movies, these movies are what they are. But I think they're so much fun.
Yeah.
And I would have.
That's all I'm asking out of a movie.
I would have
Goosebumps.
watched these on repeat as a kid. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love him, and I think Jack Black was like he was good as R.L. Stein.
Yes, very I remember when I heard he was cast, I was like, really? But
it's kind of baffling.
Yeah. He just did his own thing. So the first movie, at least, it's it's actually R.L. Stein. And he has actually written these books and created all these, imaginary monsters. And through these shenanigans and stuff, these imaginary monsters get released on the town. So you're actually, the main characters are like his daughter, and him, and her friends who are trying to put them back in their books.
Yeah.
And it's a shit ton of fun. The second one, like I said, I haven't seen that. It's Goosebumps 2 Haunted Halloween. That one came out in 2018 and stars Wendy McLendon-Covey, or, as you would know, the great Beverly Goldberg. Also, what was her name on Reno 911?
Oh.
She was so good on that, too.
Yeah. Someone's going to give me shit for not remembering that. But
and Jeremy Ray Taylor from It, who is also from the town we live in.
Yeah, so he grew up 10 minutes up the road from where I live.
Yes, he did. And he still, when he's not filming, he lives here. So that's exciting. But yeah, he was in that as well. So this one I don't think was as
It's really good. They're both really good. The plot is basically the same thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, the first one. They bring Slappy to life accidentally and other...
Well, Slappy's kind of already alive, but yeah, it's essentially the same plot. The monster, but it's cool and it's so Halloween-y.
And is there a carnival going on, or am I I don't know. I feel like the
you're gonna have to watch and find out. No spoilies.
No spoilies.
No spoilies.
Yeah, so it's really cool to see something that started, God, at this point, 29, 30 years ago, is still having. Has a whole new audience of... And imagine...
And these books have remained very popular in schools, from what I understand. Yeah. My friends who
even their original line.
Oh, yeah. I remember several years ago when I first found my old Goosebumps at Mom's house.
Uh-huh.
And I think I took a picture of them and put it on Instagram, and one of my friends who was a teacher was like, if you want to part with any of those, let me know, and I'll put them in my classroom, because... you would not believe how popular they still are.
Could you imagine being an 8 or 9-year-old today, going to the bookstore, going to the library, and seeing a Goosebumps book, a new one, and then finding out how many more there are and have been, being what? This is the 7th iteration of Goosebumps? I have so many books I can read. Holy shit, how exciting is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, and that was always such an exciting thing for me as a kid going. It was especially once they went to every month, it was an event.
Yeah.
It was I got my wrestling magazine and I read it cover to cover probably 50 times every month. And I got my Goosebumps book and read it cover to cover, also probably 50 times every month.
Yep. I remember Welcome to Dead House was falling apart. Your copy is.
Yeah, I still have that original.
Yep. Probably taped together at this point.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a lot of fun talking about Goosebumps, and
man, I'm in the Halloween spirit.
Oh my God, me too.
We are in the heart of spooky season now. It's on. We're podcasting about Goosebumps. I am. I hope that if you're listening to this, you're finding some fun spooky stuff to do this month.
Yeah, absolutely.
To celebrate the season.
I hope that you're watching the Goosebumps movies.
Yeah,
and the TV show, which is streaming on Netflix. It is not great. It is not super well made.
It's awesome.
Yeah, we love it anyway. Yeah,
absolutely watch it. Yeah.
Well, Justin, you want to do some plugs for us?
Well, all I got's my usual stuff. Blue Bard Cage. If you are interested in old wrestling, go check that out. We are on social media, Instagram and Twitter at Cool Kids Club Pod. We are also on Facebook. If you search Cool Kids Club Podcast, you can find us on there. I am on Twitter and Instagram at Lousy with Ghosts. And Amy, you are...
I am at Amy Reads TN, and that's spelled AIMEE. That's on Instagram and Twitter. I also have a YouTube channel of the same name, Amy Reads. You can either find it in a link on my Instagram or Twitter, or you can just search Amy Reads on YouTube and I pop up. So yeah, I read books, I talk about them. And right now I'm reading a lot of spooky books. So it's spook season, and honestly, since August, I've only been wanting to read at the very least mystery thrillers. I've just been very much in a mood to read dark stuff. So So yeah, and thank you as always to Brian Hey Guys Wakefield and his amazing daughter Cadence, who helped him with our new spooky theme song.
So wonderful.
Oh my god, it's so good. Cadence is really, she's a songwriter. Mm-hmm. I see a big future for her.
She's a performer.
Oh, she is a performer. And I love it. Mm-hmm. So guys, until next time.
Stay cool.
Stay cool.
Stay cool.
Stay cool.
Bye, guys.
Bye.